Also want to take a moment to mention that if you do subscribe to our channel, make sure you leave an email and receive a free PDF on how to become a successful social media influencer.
Welcome to The Rock.
With the passing of the legendary actor Sean Connery in October, our hearts couldn't be more broken at his loss. But with all the legendary and wacky performances he's left us, that heartbreak can most definitely be mended. Welcome to Patrol Clip, and today we'll be counting down the top 5 quirkiest performances in Sean Connery's career, as well as his 5 best performances. And don't worry, they're all unique in some way, shape, or form. But before we begin, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to stay up to date on all things Patrol Clip.
Here we go.
Shocking.
Quirkiest, Allan Quartermain, in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
In this 2003 diesel punk superhero film, Connery plays Allan Quartermain with such a great action movie presence and one-liner deliveries like a boss. He stands out in this film about a team of extraordinary figures culled from great adventure literature, who are brought together to stop a villain intent on turning the nations of the world against one another. Sadly, however, this film would be Connery's final live-action appearance in a feature film, and I suppose we can't blame him. The production was plagued with issues, and it was a critical and commercial failure. This was especially frustrating for Connery. He described that the production was, quote, going off the rails, and even said that the director, Stephen Norrington, should be, quote-unquote, locked up for insanity. Connery spent a considerable amount of time in trying to salvage the film through the editing process, ultimately deciding to retire from acting rather than go through such stress ever again. I guess this one just wasn't extraordinary enough for him.
Best, Marko Ramius, in The Hunt for Red October.
What isn't there to love about this 1990s classic film? Based on the popular Tom Clancy novel, this suspenseful film tracks Soviet submarine captain Marko Ramius, played by Connery, as he abandons his orders and heads for the east coast of the United States. Equipped with innovative stealth technology, Ramius' submarine, Red October, is virtually invisible. However, when an American sub briefly detects the Russians' presence, CIA agent Jack Ryan, played by Alec Baldwin, sets out to determine Ramius' motives, fearing that he may launch an attack on the U.S. Connery's excellent portrayal of the sympathetic Soviet submarine captain was acclaimed by many, and accidentally made him the big star in the movie opposite Alec Baldwin, who plays the main character Jack Ryan. It's an undeniable classic and a must-watch.
Very well.
Quirkiest, Zed in Zardoz.
We wouldn't blame you for not remembering this strange film. The story of the film Zardoz takes place in the far future, where a savage that's trained only to kill finds his way into a community of bored immortals that alone preserves humanity's achievements. Connery's performance in this one is a little wacky and definitely out of place. Could you imagine seeing Connery in a sci-fi film? I mean, other than Highlander? Neither can we. It's just not one of his more notable roles, although it is fun to see him parade around in a red diaper and X-strap suspenders.
God, I feel absolutely ridiculous.
Best, John Mason, in The Rock.
No, Sean Connery did not play as The Rock in a feature film. What are you guys thinking? Just kidding. We know that The Rock is a classic action flick that's super fun to watch. I mean, come on, it's Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery giving great performances in this film about FBI chemical warfare expert Stanley Goodspeed sent on an urgent mission with a former British spy, John Patrick Mason, to stop General Francis X. Hummel, played by Ed Harris, from launching chemical weapons on Alcatraz Island into San Francisco. General Hummel demands $100 million in war reparations to be paid to the families of slain servicemen who died on covert operations. I mean, that seems like a noble cause, but a bit of a rotten way to do it, Ed. So anyway, after their SEAL team is wiped out, Stanley and John have to deal with the soldiers on their own. Connery's portrayal of a Scottish super soldier is one you must watch, and it's clear that Michael Bay knew what he was doing casting Connery in an action film such as this one.
Ready for this? I'll do my best.
Your best.
He's very cool and collected.
And he definitely steals the show in this one.
Quirkiest, Ramirez, in Highlander.
Ah, yes, Highlander. A visionary action sci-fi film which deftly explores themes of eternal life, the temptation of power, and true love. It's, also a bit of a weird film though, albeit with an interesting plot. The film chronicles the climax of an ages-old war between immortal warriors, depicted through interwoven past and present-day storylines. Connery plays Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, friend to the main protagonist Connor MacLeod. He's depicted as an Egyptian swordsman who is immortal due to an energy called the quickening, unable to die unless beheaded.
Crude and slow, clansman, your attack was no better than that of a clumsy child.
Now, if you can get past the fact that Sean Connery is in fact not an Egyptian, nor one with a very Hispanic-sounding name, one can have a lot of fun watching his performance on screen. And it's easy to say that he's quite the scene stealer due to his larger-than-life presence and eccentric outfits. I mean, look at those things. They're fabulous. His character is also the only character that Connery has played more than once aside from James Bond. It seems like he really took a liking to this swashbuckler.
And remember, there can be only one. Hey guys, are you still with us? Marvelous. Miss Moneypenny, let's head into the top 5, shall we?
Best, Daniel Dravot, the man who would be king.
We've got just one thing to say about this one. Michael Caine and Sean Connery? Yeah, name a better duo than that. Besides the two having been longtime friends in real life, this film showcases their talents in an entertaining way. The story is about Peachy Carnahan, played by Michael Caine, and Danny Dravot, played by Sean Connery, English military officers stationed in India. Tired of the life as soldiers, the two travel to the isolated land of Kafiristan, where they're ultimately embraced by the people and revered as rulers. The natives then come to believe that Dravot is a god, but we all know that he and Carnahan can't keep up their deception forever. One of Connery's more underrated performances in quite the charming film, it's full of comedy, action, and adventure.
And boy, do I love me some adventure.
Quirkiest, Sir August de Wynter in the Avengers.
No, we're not talking about that Avengers from the MCU, but rather a film adaptation of a British TV show of the same name. The story follows a charismatic evil genius named Sir August de Wynter, played by Sean Connery, who discovers a way to harness the weather and utilize it as a weapon against London and the world at large. Admittedly, it's pretty fun seeing Connery overacting in a cheesy villain role, even though The Avengers was a box office failure and is regarded as one of the worst movies ever made. Ouch. I guess Connery couldn't avenge the death of this film, critically and commercially.
Time to die.
Best, Jim Malone in the Untouchables.
Ah, yes, the film that won Connery his first Oscar for his charismatic portrayal of Jim Malone, who's determined to bring the notorious crime lord Al Capone, played by Robert De Niro, to justice.
I love the smell of justice in the morning.
Brian De Palma's direction, coupled with Connery and the cast's incredible performances, as well as a fantastic score from the late great Ennio Morricone, make this one a must-watch.
Quirkiest, Henry Jones Sr. in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
This performance isn't necessarily quirky, and we just as easily put this one in one of his best. And the undeniable charisma and charm that Connery brought to the role of Henry Jones is beloved by indie fans.
I find that if I just sit down and think, the solution presents itself.
In the third installment of the indie series, Jones goes in search of the Holy Grail, with his dad along for the ride. It's regarded by the fans as the best indie film of the series, and we might actually agree with you there. It's not just a great indie film, but a heartfelt, action-packed passion project that Connery really cared about. In the writing process of his character, he contributed quite a bit, and it shows that he appreciated his character in the film, and that Spielberg trusted him with the character. Plus, what's better than a character who's based off of James Bond having a father who was the first James Bond? And that's an adventure you just can't miss out on.
You call this archaeology?
And remember, the pen is mightier than the sword.
You see, the pen is mightier than the sword.
And now for the final best, James Bond. All of them.
Did you really think that we'd leave this one off without mentioning Connery's most iconic role? Yeah, right. I mean, what else can be said about the impact he had on the character and how he brought it to life on screen? With so many memorable moments, from the very first Dr. No to Goldfinger to Diamonds Are Forever, he's definitely one of, if not the best James Bond actor to have graced the screen. I mean, come on, the dude is a Mac daddy. He's suave, brash, and gentlemanly. So many women have fawned over him and still do to this day. And he set the standard for their character on the silver screen, and well, we couldn't be more grateful.
She should have kept her mouth shut.
There's no denying that Sean Connery was one of the greatest actors of the 20th century, and he will forever live on in our hearts. Do you think there were any performances that we should have put on this list, or do you completely agree with us? Drop those comments down below and let us know. And while you're at it, make sure you like this video, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on all things Patrol Clip.
And until next time.
How did it happen? I think they were on their way to a funeral.